Just say it, man. Don't make me ask 20 questions.
What is the point?
Get to the point.
Just say it already!
Welcome to the Podcram. In our second episode, we'll cover the Sean Ryan Show number 59 with neurologist Dr. Michael Bagnall. Enjoy.
It's important for people to know there's different kinds of brain waves, and the brain is always oscillating. All the brain waves. So what are the brain waves? Delta is the first one. Delta is normal for sleep. So we all have delta brain waves. It's for sleep. So when we're asleep, our delta waves will be a bit higher than some of the other brain waves. So it's a slow brain wave, as would be thought. Then you come up a little bit faster, you have theta. Theta is something where you're kind of dozing off, you're kind of drifting down into sleep. It's slowing your brain down, but it's not as slow as delta. Theta is also implicated in people. If you have a lot of theta brainwave in the middle of the day, you might have an attention problem because your brain's sluggish, it's slow, and it can't stay on things that are changing quickly. Theta can also be controlled by people who meditate, so it might be a good thing that you can bring up your theta. So it's a slow brain wave. So you have delta is very slow, theta is a little bit faster. Then you hit alpha. Alpha is like the gear shifter from slow wave to faster wave. And alpha is related to, at least attributed to, performance, a relaxed state of function where you can do what you need to do, but you're kind of in a good state, like a Zen state, or you're in the right zone for an athlete.
Okay.
Right? You're not tense, but you're not completely falling asleep, but you're mentally flexible, you're emotionally flexible. It's your alpha state. And even Tony Robbins, I believe, says that he trains for many hours to be able to stay in an alpha state because he's, leading these massive conferences and helping people have breakthroughs and things. So he's got to really be on his game.
Okay.
So alpha is very good. We know that alpha decreases as we age. And we can see that in people many times because they get less flexible, more rigid, more frustrated with things that maybe when they were younger, like, no, not a big deal. Then you go up from alpha to beta. And beta is a big range of brain waves. They have low beta and high beta. And so high beta is if you have to solve something complex. I mean, you have so much technology here, it's almost like my office. And you need to be at a bit of high beta learning how to operate all this stuff. That's normal. But when you close your eyes to relax, a person shouldn't be in high beta. That can be associated with stress, anxiety, things of that nature. So all the brainwaves are normal. It depends on what the context is. So if I'm here talking to you, my brain is high in delta, that's not the proper context for that because it's for sleep. Or I'm trying to fall asleep and my brain has got a lot of high beta going on. I'm not going to fall asleep very well because my brain is racing. So all the brain waves, all the way to beta, and then the highest ones that we record are gamma. Gamma is a very high frequency processing brainwave, something that helps you have insight, embeds memories very deeply. So gamma, we know, is damaged with head injuries.
Okay.
And also with people with Alzheimer's.
So these frequencies, this alpha, beta, gamma,
theta, and delta.
So these are just, they're frequencies?
Yeah, they're electrical activity in your brain.
How are they damaged? How is a frequency damaged?
A frequency won't be damaged, but you can have too much of that brainwave or too little of that brainwave.
How? Because
of injury, number one, can change. Because you think about it, here's an electrical wiring network, electrochemical network, or you could even say electromagnetic, but electrochemical network, right? Everything's running over the wiring in this brain, and it's electrical frequencies. And you smash this brain from one side, or you twist it around, and that trauma can cause shearing of those electrical wires.
Okay.
And the shearing is what causes those wires not to transmit properly. And because it's injured, just like you get inflammation in a knee that was injured, or a shoulder, you can get neuroinflammation at that site of injury, which is going to radically change the electrical activity. And there's signatures meaning we know that certain, or what I mentioned earlier, this word called phenotypes, meaning certain brainwave patterns are related to certain conditions. Then you find out, did this person have that condition? They did. Then that's the kind of pattern. So let me be a little more precise. A brain injury, a traumatic brain injury, has a signature often that has too much delta, that very slow wave, and too much high beta in two regional areas like, oh, there, and oh, there. That's very common. So when people come into our center and we do a brain map and they've had a head trauma, I look for signatures, patterns. Do they have a pattern of having a head injury? I mean, modern psychiatry, a lot of them, Dr. Daniel Amen for one, and many others are saying, we're behind because we're treating everything like it's a chemistry issue, because that was the thought, that it's always a chemical imbalance.
Okay.
But now we realize, oh, maybe it's not necessarily a chemical imbalance. Maybe it's an imbalance in the firing of that brain. Because when neurons fire together electrically, they create chemistry. It's not the other way around. It's not like all of a sudden chemistry just starts being produced. It's like the brain's firing or not firing, and it's producing chemistry or not producing chemistry. Our approach in the past, meaning healthcare, has been, let's use a chemical approach. And why? Why have we used that? I don't know. Is it because of, it's ways to research and funding? I mean, probably, right? We know big pharma. It's money. There's a lot of money involved. There's people trying to help. There's scientists. There's academics. But there's money, big money involved. So who's to say? But anxiety can be different areas of the brain that have very high brain waves that are overactive, and from a brain standpoint. And then we want to look at, how do we get inhibition? How do we get the brain to start shutting that down? Is it talk therapy, which can help bring out some of the issues maybe that drove the anxiety, separation anxiety for people? Dr. Russell Kennedy says that. He says it's an alarm in your body going off, usually from separation anxiety. So different schools of thought and different domains of science have different reasons as to why there's an anxiety.
Okay.
They would say. So a psychologist would explain it one way, and a psychiatrist perhaps a little bit differently. Someone who does mind-body medicine might explain it a little differently. But what I'm saying is, okay, we have oftentimes high beta in certain areas of the brain, and the goal is, whatever therapy, how can we bring that under control? And I think it's usually a multi-disciplined approach works best.
Thanks for listening to this installment of The Podcram. I hope it contains something useful for you. If you enjoy these selections and are curious about the curator's own thoughts, you can check out my other podcast, Psychic Lube, where I share concise concepts meant to grease the intellectual gears and help get your creative juices flowing. Each episode is an ongoing collaborative project that welcomes listeners to expand or rebut its points by email or comment, the most interesting of which get incorporated through periodic re-recordings. As always, if you're intrigued by today's content, I encourage you to go listen to the full podcast in its original form directly from its creators so that their sponsors keep paying them to make stuff for us and nobody feels compelled to sue me for copyright infringement. Now, get off your phone and go do smart stuff. Have a productive day.